It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
.606 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Friday. You made it.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
Don't worry, though, with global warming and all of that, we won't have penguins anymore.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So I had an opportunity. I'm a little tired this morning, way up past my bedtime last night, hosting a town hall event for those people who are near Casper Mountain, and there's a gravel pit going in your neighborhood. So it was a town hall between the gentleman, Mr. True, and his company, Prism Logistics, who wants to dig that gravel pit, and people in the neighborhood there. And my job was to be an impartial, let's say, moderator of this thing, and also set the tone and keep the tone, which I was glad I was there to do, because there were a few people who were really hot about this, and I just had to let them know we're going to have an adult conversation, so I had to set the tone for the room. It was an interesting discussion, although really nothing was settled. And I'll tell you about that a little bit later on this morning. Now, I want to get this out of the way. If you watch news too much, you will be hearing about this all today and all throughout the weekend, like you have been nonstop, which is why I don't spend much time on my show doing this, because every other radio show out there and all of your television networks, especially Fox, are on and on and on about Biden's cognitive ability. And they've overanalyzed this way too much. I'm just going to give you the latest. So yesterday, Biden was supposed to give his first press conference, which he doesn't really do those. When he does a press conference, they hand him these little cards that has who he's going to call on next, the name of the reporter, there's a picture of the reporter so he can identify him. There's the question he's going to be asked and a written answer. That's Biden doing a press conference. Oh, there were a few off-the-cuff things that happened yesterday, and this is at the NATO summit. Now, Biden did okay at this. People were watching for slip-ups, like those people who watch a NASCAR race are waiting for the wrecks. So there were some slip-ups. For example, he's introducing the president of Ukraine and accidentally calls him Putin. And then he quickly had to pivot and correct himself.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Okay, so that was one. And he did have some little slips like this. Now, this next one I'm going to play for you is during the press conference section, where he has a lot of little slipping moments. So what you're going to hear is a montage. This did not happen all at once. It's put together to give you an idea of every little moment when he slipped during that press conference. Now, again, the overall press conference he did okay. It was nothing great, and it did not instill confidence in anyone. But here's that montage of slippage moments.
Look, folks, this is anyway, in the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling into 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, it wasn't about just, anyway, read what his objective is. And anyway, but then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
And you can see, I can see anyway when I watch him, that he definitely is exhausted. I mean, even just the eyes are really tired there. You can see there's many flubs like this, and people were watching for him. The press was watching for him. Now, a recent scandal, there were a couple of them. There was a lady talk show host that was given, she was supposed to interview Biden, and she was given a bunch of talking point questions in which she asked the questions that she was laid in front. So I got news for you with this program, and it's happened on occasion. On occasion, a politician will want to get on this program, and they will try to send Miss Mary the questions that I am to ask. And Miss Mary will tell them he doesn't operate that way. If there's certain points you want to hit, he'll ask you, if they're on the program to talk about certain things, you can tell me what the topics that you want to discuss are. But the questions are mine. So if you're okay with that, then come on the program. If you're not, I'm not going to do your talking points. And this lady talk show host, I forget what market she was in, she was let go from her station for doing just that. And I'm glad they did that. So just follow all the talking points and only ask what they tell you. We don't do it that way. Well, a Milwaukee radio station said it agreed to edit Joe Biden's interview and remove embarrassing statements. What? The two edits were, and I have them here, so I'm going to try to play them. At 5:20, removal of, and in addition to that, I have more blacks in my administration than any other president. Embarrassing things like this.
In addition to that, I have more blacks in my administration than any other president, all of the presidents combined, and major positions, cabinet positions.
Let me see. There's another one at, about 14:15 into the interview. In reference to Donald Trump call for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, the removal of, I don't know if they can even call for their hanging or not, but he said, convicted of murder, things like this. In other words, whenever the president said something kind of embarrassing or got off topic or fumbled or mumbled a little bit, so the Biden administration sent to the Milwaukee radio station, will you get in there and edit these things out? Because they don't want the president to look bad. And this has been a big part of the problem. As you know, with the news media over the past few years, they were editing things like this out so the president wouldn't look bad. And then when he did bad on a live debate, they act all shocked like they've never seen this before. Which, of course, they had. So, all right. That's about, and I'm not going to go round and round on it because that's about all I have about Biden. And I can go ahead and analyze it to death. But if you want that, there's radio shows after mine, and then you can just turn on Fox News and other news outlets if you want. And they're analyzing the hell out of this. And I think that you already know everything you need to know about it. The man, as I've said, when he first ran against Trump, the man has dementia, and it's getting worse. And I'm not interested in arguing Democrat versus Republican on this. I'm honestly not. I have no interest in Democrat versus Republican on this. This is a man with dementia. So the Democrats need to replace him. And they have a hard time figuring out how to do that. My answer is, well, just do it, because this is not good for him, and it definitely won't be good for the country.
If you think about it, your belly button is basically just a scar that you got in a knife fight with a guy in a mask after being evicted from your first place.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
6:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so I played some of the gaffes for you. President Biden at a NATO summit and press conference over the weekend. Let's talk about the press for just a minute here. Because as I said earlier, they have really gotten themselves into a bind. We have caught the press many times before just lying about things. And they all seem to be in lockstep doing it together, lying about the same thing, in many cases using the same words over and over again. And I even hesitate to say news media because, honestly, what news these days? When you turn on major networks, and I include them all, you turn them on, and what you see is they'll tell you that a story is happening, and it's a very brief wrap-up. Well, this is happening. And now we're going to bring in our panel of experts to discuss it. Now, that's not what news is. News is a reporter standing there on the site telling you what they're seeing. That's what news is. What they have there basically is talk television. And a lot of other news outlets from, I guess you can still call them newspapers, to many other different kind of outlets. It's opinion. But let's go back to what they were trying to tell us about Joe Biden from the very beginning when he first ran for office all the way up until now. This, again, is where news media would edit out every time Biden had some dementia moment. They would edit it out. And here's the kinds of things that they were telling us.
And age is not an issue. Fitness is a question that he proves time and time again. He's ably fit.
One of the appeals of Joe Biden and the reason he was elected president is because of his age.
You're very clear that you do not have any concerns about President Biden's age or his fitness to be president.
There's just a cynicism, really, and an ageism, but there's no evidence that he slowed up.
There's no evidence to suggest that he has, mentally in any way diminished.
The issue that I have with this conversation about Biden's age is that it's always just about his age. It's not really about, he wasn't able to do X. He wasn't able to do Y. He has a great record.
Yeah, if you're concerned about Joe Biden's age, you probably don't know Joe Biden.
Why is age hurting Biden and not Trump?
Some of it is just how the narrative has evolved.
Last night, he was clear about both addressing and rebutting this narrative about his age.
There's a narrative that Joe Biden is an old man.
Privately, some Democrats do worry that this narrative could take hold.
An already existing narrative about Biden's age.
The narratives around Biden's age.
This narrative around his age.
This is a segment about the anatomy of a smear. This is where a smear about Joe Biden's age and losing a step starts from Nikki Haley.
So you can hear them using a lot of the same words and phrases as they do this. So it's very typical of the media. Now they're busted once again, which is why Americans have such little confidence. But also, it's not, they're using the wrong terms, which is typical. They're trying to redefine the argument by choosing the words here carefully. It's not about his age. The age is not the issue. It's cognitive ability. That's the issue. A little while ago, I went to, it's a little airstrip around a neighborhood, and it's to the east side of Cheyenne, Wyoming, because a friend of mine was looking at an airplane to buy. And I'm talking to this gentleman. He's taller than me. I'm 6'1". He's a little taller than me. He's in great physical condition. Mentally, he was sharp. I mean, really sharp. I enjoyed the conversation with this guy as we discussed the airplane in question and aviation in general. And he said that he and his wife oftentimes would go flying to go camping. And they did that a lot. And he's retired, right? So I'm really impressed with this guy. Great physical condition, great mental condition. I mean, I admired his energy. And then he looked at me and said, well, I'm trying to get as much done as I possibly can. I mean, I'm 81 years old. I don't know how much time I have left. And I looked at him. Wait, okay, hold on. You're 81? Now, Biden is 81. The guy I was talking to had a spring in his step. Cognitively, he's as sharp as it comes. See, it's not about the age, as you just heard from that montage of all of the different news media outlets trying to defend Biden. It's not about the age. It's about cognitive ability. I know plenty of people that are a lot older than 81 years old, and they are going strong. And then I know other people who are in their 50s, and they're losing it. It's cognitive ability. It's not his age. That's the question here. But let's get back to the media real quick, right? So the news media here, they are going round and round trying to convince us, well, I mean, it's ageism was one of the comments I heard. I mean, this is just, and then on and on they go, even editing Biden. There's no evidence of anything. I mean, there's no evidence here. Yeah, because you're deleting all the evidence. But then it happens, and this is why it's an issue now, on live television during the debate, and everybody saw it. So there's no talking their way out of it this time. No, there's no way they can talk their way out of it this time. So now the news media haven't been caught. They have to act all shocked, as if they've never seen. This is a new thing. We've never seen this before. Then again, if I had taken, and I have in the past, if Biden has one of his dementia moments, and I take that moment as a video and I put it up on social media, it'll be blocked or de-emphasized or whatever the case is. Shadow banned is what it's often called. Or some kind of a blur will be put over it with a warning, and et cetera, et cetera. That's what social media does. But also news media in general have been editing out so the rest of the country can't see it because, well, they're Democrats. Most news media are Democrats, and they really don't want everybody to see this. I don't think that there's some huge conspiracy. I do think that each and every reporter out there, an anchor, is a Democrat, and they want to make sure to protect their interests, which is what's been going on. All right, coming up on some local news we have to take care of after a local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it. 888-97 Woods is the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. So some candidates in Fremont County are refusing to debate. I'll talk about why and maybe if they should or not. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
iTunes. News and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so I don't think debates are necessarily necessary. Is that a good way to put that? I quit watching most debates a long time ago because I found them to be absolutely useless as far as getting information and judging a candidate. I really don't think that the way they format debates really work. And it's not a debate. The two don't get a chance to go back and forth and really handle an issue. Let's say talk about the way they think of it as opposed to the way the other guy thinks about it and go back and forth with ideas. Most political debates are garbage, which is why I think President Trump did the right thing when he just decided this time around not to even engage in any of the Republican debates. I looked at that and thought, actually, that's a smart idea. It's just a waste of time. Don't even bother. Strategically, that was a great idea. And it didn't seem to matter. He was way ahead of everybody. And everybody dropped out. Before he ever even got all of the delegates and won the nomination, everybody else had dropped out. And Trump did not show up to a single debate. I say that because, here's from Wildfile, a group of Fremont County Republican legislative candidates have declined invitations to a series of candidate debates, drawing a public rebuke this week from the GOP leadership. My concern, this is a quote, my concern is that Tim Salazar, Pepper, Ottoman, Tina Clifford, and Joel Gugamos, I'm mispronouncing that, will not face voter questions before the election. Will they listen to us if elected, said the Fremont County Chairman, Scott Harrisonberger. The issue began earlier this month. Now, I disagree with Mr. I think it's Harnsberger. I'm just probably demolishing these names today. But anyway, the Fremont County GOP chairman. I don't think that you have to go to a debate. I prefer this, actually. Many towns around Wyoming have what they do, well, I say ice cream socials, for example. In Casper, they have politics in the park, where they'll go ahead and set up all sorts of tents. And again, there's refreshments served there, and you can go from one place to the next as they set up their tables. Just go from one candidate to the next and just talk to them. Nice thing about living in a place like Wyoming is these candidates are accessible. So no matter what community you're in, there are opportunities for you to go up to the candidates that are running and just talk to them. In Cheyenne, Wyoming, for example, they like to have their Super Day. The first Saturday of summer, they take over the park, their Lions Park. And on the political season, political year, there's candidates all over the place with their own little venues set up, and you can just walk up and talk to them. I know if you go to Douglas, Wyoming is another place where they have their Jackalope Days. Wheatland, Wyoming is having an event this weekend that's much like Jackalope Days, but it's in Wheatland. And again, local politicians will go ahead and set up there, and you can just walk up and talk to them. See, to me, I don't care so much about the debate. So all 5, in this case from Fremont County, are running to represent Fremont County communities in the legislative. It says Wildfile. And the 3 incumbents are either members or allies of the Hardline Freedom Caucus. Ottoman said initially he accepted the invite, but then dropped out. Organizers told Wildfile while Penn had not been invited since her primary, she is uncontested. Otherwise, they'd been invited to participate in Republican forums Shoshone, Du Bois, Lander throughout July, all of which had been organized by the Fremont County GOP Republican Women of Fremont County. But the story says, but the rub with the forums, according to the candidates and newspaper ads, is the league's national organization. More specifically, the candidates pointed to the league's position on abortion voter identification. In other words, they think that, and their opposition to former President Trump, semi-automatic weapons, stuff like that. So in other words, they're looking at who's putting on the debate and saying, we don't trust you to put on a debate. Now, if these candidates wanted to do a different kind of debate, they could always get together and say, let's just do our own with our own people. They could do that. But again, I look at even Wyoming debates. Last time we had candidates running for governor, for example, they showed up in a big forum. They were all up on stage. And Wyoming PBS moderated it. And I tried watching it and got absolutely nothing out of it. Not a thing. The past debates that we had for both on the federal level, the Democrat debates and the Republican debates. And again, Trump just decided not to go, and it was a smart move. And I didn't really watch any of them because a long time ago, I quit getting things out of debates. I really did. I find it much better, honestly, to go to the candidate themselves if you're here in Wyoming. And on more of a national level, don't listen to the media. There's other ways to get information. Yeah, I kind of gave up on debates. 642, wake up.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake up, Wyoming, with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waving by. So, okay, Frank, I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday for this first little break that we have here. Okay. With that nice lady who has all of these wonderful memes that I just
she has
adore.
more.
Oh, my Lord. She posts many a day.
A day?
They say it's better to be poor and happy than rich and miserable. But how about a compromise, like moderately rich and just moody?
I'll take that.
Yes, you see, I thought that.
I will take
yes,
that. Yes,
I think that there's a point to be made there.
Yeah.
Okay. I love this one. There's a picture of Spam, the kind you eat.
Yeah.
Your post was removed because it looks like Spam to us.
Yeah.
Okay, see that? Here's a sign. It shows a escalator. But there's a person with the circle and the line crossed through, and it says no people. Never in my life have I wanted to steal a sign more. Yeah. This one, don't worry, people, it is Friday. My Friday was going well until I realized it was Thursday.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You see,
or Saturday, yeah.
God, doesn't that always just mess us up,
Yeah.
especially when we have one of those odd days off, like 4th of July was on a Thursday.
Oh, I know.
Oh, that just drove us nuts.
And then, I don't know, did you take people, you take Friday off? And then you lose track of, then it's Monday or is it Sunday? Yeah.
This is one of my favorite ones of all time. People say go big or go home.
Yeah.
They're underestimating my willingness to go home. It's literally my goal.
If you make it home.
Yes. Yeah. Now, here's something I wish Facebook would do. It says, I wish Facebook would notify me when someone unfriends me so I could like it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Or thank them. I was going to unfriend you. Thank you, because that would have been really awkward.
Well, yeah. Could it be a mutual goodbye?
Yes.
But you got to, approve the mutual goodbye.
Now, this one is definite truth for everybody.
Okay.
I would like to think that I die a heroic death. but it's more likely I'll trip over my dog and choke on a spoonful of frosting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And then one of an all-time favorite of the internet in general. My ducks are absolutely not in a row. I don't even know where some of them are, and I'm pretty sure one of them is a pigeon.
As long as you know how many you have.
Yes. See, now this is what I mean by I'm glad in fact, I sent her a compliment this morning because she makes my day several times a day with these things.
That's awesome. All right, the Central Wyoming Rodeo continues tonight at the Fairgrounds in Casper. That'll begin at 7:30 this evening. In last night's session, Jacek Frost from California had an 86 in the bareback. Ethan Mazurenko from KC with an 83. It was a really good ride. And Donnie Profit, the four-time state champion wrestler from Kemmer, who rodeoed at the University of Wyoming, with an 81.5 yesterday in the bareback. In the saddle bronc, Damian Brennan, who is the number one in the world standings of this event, with an 81. He's an Australian cowboy. And then Tanner Butner, who's had a really, really good career in the saddle bronc. He went to Pinedale High School and Big Piney High School. He had a 78. In the bull riding, Scotty Knapp with an 82.5. Then there has not been very many qualified rides in the bull riding, which is not completely unexpected. So the rodeo continues tonight at 7:30. This is the last qualifying session for the championship short go, which will be tomorrow. The top 12 in each event will come back for tomorrow's session. College football, the Wyoming Cowboys have hired former receiver Jovan Bonite as their offensive analyst. He's a Hall of Famer for UW with over 250 catches in his career for over 3,600 yards. He's one of the best receivers the Cowboys have ever had. So his last coaching job for the receivers coach was at Marshall. He spent 10 years at Utah State on their offensive staff and also coached at Texas Tech, Oregon, and Kentucky. In collegiate baseball, the Casper Spuds lost to Hastings, Nebraska on the road yesterday 6-3. That broke the Spuds' 21-game win streak. So the Spuds are 31-5. They will host Hastings tonight at 6:30 at Lansing Field. In American Legion baseball, the Casper Oilers were in the Bozeman, Montana tournament. They lost to Bozeman last night 8-5. The Oilers will play Nampa, Idaho at 3:30 this afternoon. Cheyenne Post 6 in the Fort Collins tournament. They beat Loveland, Colorado 6-0. They'll take on Fort Collins at 9 a.m. this morning, and then Greeley, Colorado at 11:30 this morning. The Laramie AA Rangers lost to the Colorado Rogue 8-2 in that Fort Collins tournament. They'll take on Arvada, Colorado at 2 p.m. and Loveland at 4:30. The Cheyenne Hawks split a doubleheader with Sheridan. Sheridan won the first game 14-2, and the Hawks won the nightcap 3-0. Laramie A team over Wheatland 8-3 in game one of a doubleheader, and then Wheatland won the nightcap 9-5. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies lost to Cincinnati 8-1. Tyler Stevenson had 2 home runs and drove in 5 runs for the Reds. Rockies had just 3 hits. They've lost 4 of 5. They're 33-61. They'll be in New York today to take on the Mets.
So, okay, qualifying is over today?
Yeah, this will be the last session in order to try to get to the championship short go tomorrow. And these guys and girls, they're everywhere.
Okay.
It's like they're here, they compete, they grab something to eat, and then they're gone.
Okay. Back again. All right. So, yeah, for everybody who wants to go see this is a good night to do it. And then tomorrow, I guess, they wrap it up to...
Yep, two more. Two more. One tonight, one tomorrow night. It'll be a little bit warm. You'll be fine.
It's all right. Now, they started at 7 o'clock. Sit in the shadows.
You'll be fine.
All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National, local update on the weather forecast. Wake up, Wyoming. Six at a time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Friday, and I'm glad you made it.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
Don't worry, global warming is going to kill all the penguins. We'll be just fine. So, okay. Last night, I was asked to go moderate something, and I was actually flattered that they asked me to do this. Now, I'm going to bring up this topic for everybody in Wyoming to listen to, no matter where you are, because we are getting a bit busier when it comes to mining for rare earth minerals. Uranium mining might be coming back. So even though the coal mines are having a bit of a problem, they'll be back, I believe, because wind and solar is just not going to cut it. But that's a whole nother story. In this case, it was a gravel pit. Now, the first time I dealt with a gravel pit issue, it was just to the west of Cheyenne, Wyoming. And there was a neighborhood there that, why are you putting a gravel pit up right next to our neighborhood? Oh, my God. I can see this from my back window. So now it's in Casper, Wyoming, and it's not on the mountain. It's just down the slope of the mountain, real close to it, but not on the mountain, right? Okay, so, and for those who don't really know, it's more like to the west side of, the Casper Mountain area. All right, so there's a neighborhood there, and one day they look over and see some equipment working, and what's going on? Well, it looks like someone is working on getting all the permitting done to get a gravel pit put in. And the company is Prism Logistics, and Mr. True is the CEO of the company, and they want to put this gravel pit in the area. And they've done this around the state of Wyoming, too. And the reason they picked that spot is because this area used to be under glaciers. And when those glaciers melted away, I know climate change, right? That it pulled down rock, granite, in just the right way. That someone who wants to go after the gravel looks at it and goes, oh, that's just perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. And the Casper and Natrona County area needs the gravel. So Prism Logistics comes in to go after it. Now, the neighborhood is a bit surprised because they think it's kind of close to the neighborhood. So this is where the controversy starts. And this has been going on for quite a while with some heated debates. They've even had debates at the county commission, and they've had a town hall meeting. So last night, I was asked a couple of weeks ago to moderate this. And the way it was originally formatted was, so there's Mr. True, the CEO of Prism Logistics, and then there's the Casper Mountain Preservation Association, and they were going to counterpoint. They were each give like a 10 to 15 minute presentation on their point of view. And then they were going to sort of counterpoint each other, and then it was going to be an open debate with the public, right? So I was asked to moderate this and also keep it civil, if you will. All right, so I showed up last night to do this. Unfortunately, the Casper Mountain Preservation Association, they said that they weren't going to do their side of it. They just leave it open to Prism Logistics. Although, after Mr. True had finished his presentation, I asked, is there someone here from the Preservation Association that would like to rebut this? And someone stood up and said yes. And so the gentleman who had first turned down the opportunity ended up coming up front and giving the other point of view anyway. And then we opened it up for questions and any kind of comments from the audience. And it was myself, and there was a gentleman who was helping me out with microphones to walk around the room, and anyone in the audience could ask a question or drop a comment. Now, there was a gentleman sitting up front. He had come in kind of late, and he sat up front, and he had a stack of questions on a legal pad, but also some files and so on. And when he started to talk, boy, he wasn't just talking. He was pointing his finger. He was yelling. And I walked over and went, wait, whoa. And he looked me square in the eye and yelled at me, are you going to escort me out? And I said, no, I don't want to escort you out. You have a whole legal pad full of questions. Everybody here would like to hear what your questions are. We would like to know what you think. But you need to change the tone. And this is where I'm trying to diffuse the situation. And after a moment or so, I was able to get the gentleman to settle down. And then I handed him the mic to let him know, I believe you, that you're settled down. And he promised to be civil. He actually had a whole list of very good questions. And there was a lot of back and forth between him and Mr. True. It was a very good exchange. Now, as the night went on, I'm sorry to say, really nothing was settled. So Mr. True did prove, and nobody's arguing with him, that we need to gravel. And it'd be good for jobs. And for those people who worry about bringing tax money in, it certainly is going to do that. It'd be good for the economy in general. No one's arguing that. It was a question about location. Now, when it came to water rights, when it came to, are you going to mess up our water? And Mr. True said, no, I don't I don't believe we are. But if we do, he promised, if we screw up your well, we will go ahead and drill you a new well even deeper and pay for it all. So I think even the question about dust, he talked about dust mitigation and so on. The big question left at the end of the night is there's a road that goes really close to the neighborhood, and there would be trucks running up and down that road. And he said, well, they're only going to be going 20 miles an hour. But these are big trucks. That was one question that he couldn't seem to settle with the audience. I'm sorry to say, though, at the end of it, even though we ended up with I'm a little tired this morning because it went way past my bedtime. We had a 2-hour discussion with everybody. And I don't think anybody changed anybody's mind on this thing. But it still was a fascinating discussion to be a part of. Judy is over there in Mills about last night's debate. I thought you were going to be there. I know Rose was. I talked to her.
Well, good, because, Joe that does my handyman,
yeah,
his truck broke down just after I got sick, so he had bought the full week of the rodeo, so I let him take my truck to the rodeo.
Okay.
All week long. I after I talked to a couple of the gals over there, they were going to boycott that anyway, so I figured, it's not a big deal. I got nothing to do with it, really, and I'm kind of having a debate with Casey Coates right now, who's running for county commissioner on Facebook, and I'm going to say the word NIMBY.
Yeah.
And I think everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
He's all upset over his water, and he's all upset over the over the gravel pit over there and all of that good stuff. But he's okay if they put up solar panels next door to my house and run my well out in Natrona and everybody else's.
Right.
So he's talking about the CO2 and all of that. So I don't know why he's running as a Republican. He's actually a Democrat because he's bought into the big scam of CO2 being really nasty for the environment when we all know it grows trees and plants and would be green again.
Yeah.
I'm telling him right now on Facebook that under Trump, we were 75 years since we had been energy independent, and we were exporting energy that didn't require solar, didn't require poison panels, and didn't require wind turbines, like the ones out east of town that never turn. So we're going back and forth over that, but he totally changed my mind. I don't think I'll be voting Casey for county commissioner, because the last thing I need is another Bertolio, another Hendry, another Peter Nicolason, or another, NIMBY, that it's all okay to pollute everybody else's property, just not mine.
Right.
But anyway, I wanted to find out what happened last night, and you're talking about it right now. So
yes.
I'll let you go ahead and talk, dude.
All right.
I would have loved to have been there. Anybody recorded by chance?
Yes, in fact, there will be. There was a lady that I was working with there. It'll take her a couple of days to go ahead and put it up. She's not editing for content. She's just editing camera angles. Because she had multiple cameras around the room. And so, I think you'll enjoy the whole thing.
I would have loved to have been there, but, it looks like I'm going to be in a battle for my own property and water rights and stuff out at Natrona over the solar farm that Russ Kilt wants to put in.
Right.
So I think I can't spread myself too thin,
Right. All right.
But I just thought I'd give you a warning. Casey Coates is a Democrat. He's not a Republican. And he's bought into the climate change scam. So put on your tinfoil hat, Casey, and get ready for a big old boost of what the reality is on this crap.
All right. Thank you, Judy. Yeah, I'll get more back into what last night's little debate was with the gravel, because it's more than just a gravel pit that's in Casper, Wyoming, as far as I'm concerned. I take a look at how we're going to end up having this fight again and again around the state. We already have. Many different, from wind and solar, like Judy's talking about, to uranium. This is not going to be our only fight.
Why is that person running? Are you okay? Is somebody chasing you? You're running on purpose? 7 a.m.
Yep, there you have it. A new level of crazy. And you heard it here first. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio. Join the show at 888-97-WOODS.
7:22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, one of the reasons that I bring up, again, this was the format that I had last night. I was asked to moderate an event, which was between a company that wants to put a gravel pit in Casper, Wyoming, and the neighborhood it would be near, and the neighborhood doesn't want it anywhere near it. And my job was really to just moderate and keep it civil and get people talking to each other instead of yelling at each other, which I think we did pretty good job last night, although nothing was really settled as far as I'm concerned. Now, and again, I'm going somewhere else with this, just so you know. But now the gravel company, the argument there from Mr. True, who is CEO of the company, is that if you're worried about dust, they have dust mitigation. He explains how that works. And there's plenty of gravel pits around Wyoming, even in Casper, that are right next to neighborhoods, and nobody knows they're there, even though they're operating right next to a neighborhood, because they keep the dust down, they keep the noise down. Someone sees an occasional truck go by, that's what he wants to do. So he said, don't worry about the dust. As far as water, people are worried about their wells. Well, don't think we're going to break your well, he says, but if we do, we'll pay for a much deeper, better well for you. They'll install everything. Okay, well, he's handling that problem then. There's still the problem of Coach Road, which goes real close to the neighborhood. And he said, we're going to take over taking care of the road from the county while we're doing this. Okay. But people are still concerned. So you're going to have a bunch of big trucks going by all day long, right by and my kids are playing out there. So there's that, which Mr. True was not really able to give them anything that they wanted to hear as far as how to solve that problem. But the reason I bring this up as a bigger issue is Wyoming is always an energy state. We always have been an energy state. So whether you're in favor of wind and solar or not, and I'm not, especially because of the heavy subsidies, if it's happening on private property, now I just want to get the subsidies out of it, and I don't want them to leave a mess behind. Just like I don't want oil and gas wells leaving a mess behind. I mean, there's a whole conversation we can have about that. But also, we're going to have more rare earth mineral mining. People over in Glen Rock, not only are you going to have to put up with more wind turbines, but there's going to be rare earth mineral mining. Wheatland, you guys have the same thing coming in with solar panels and a lot of rare earth mineral mining. Way over in Moorcroft, same thing. Uranium mining is coming back. Because we're talking about nuclear power now, so here comes more uranium mining. And so as these things start to happen, well, Wyoming's going to do what it's been doing for a very long time, drilling and digging. On the one hand, we're in Wyoming very proud to drill and dig for a living. I like driving out there and going, oh, look at that oil well pumping away. I love seeing that. I don't like to see the big wind farms out there. I wouldn't have minded so much if they were just putting up a few wind farms and they were private business. But what we have going on now is not private business, and it's overkill, especially at taxpayer expense. That's what I really can't stand about that. It's just too much, and it's not going to work. We can get, again, a whole different discussion about that. But now I go to places, there's small towns around Wyoming where you look at what used to be a beautiful view of the prairie. Here's the migrating animals, the soaring birds, and now it's all these wind farms taking up the territory. And they're not doing a real good job at taking care of the environment. But we still, when we do get into mining for more minerals, and it's not just going to be rare earth minerals, there's copper, there's gold, there's all sorts of things in Wyoming. In fact, there's even going to be a mine. I haven't checked it in a while, but between Casper and Laramie, up on the higher range up there, around Kirk Gowdy Park area, there's a gold mine going in. Okay, so people don't seem to mind all of that until they look out their back window and go, what is it doing right there in my backyard? And that's where, when Judy called just a moment ago, she's talking about the NIMBY thing. We all love it until it's in our backyard. Now, I also noticed there's a lot of hypocrisy that comes from, let's go back to over on the East Coast. Senator Kennedy, President Obama, people like that would love to have wind power all over the place until you put it off the coast of Nantucket, and then don't you dare put it in my backyard. But they're okay putting it next to your neighborhood. So what I'm saying is this is something that the state of Wyoming is going to have to start dealing with. There was even a case, let's get away from mining for a minute. I'll go back to Wheatland. So this is a great idea for a company. There's a company that wants to come in, and it wants to do, and I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Wheatland, was it pigs? They were going to do kosher meats of some kind. Well, the plant that would, I forget, it was cattle or whatever, is going to be kosher meats. And the kosher meat plant, which was going to be a slaughterhouse, they wanted to put it on the side of town that would have been, well, all of the smell would have drifted right across town. And people in Wheatland were saying, we're not opposed to it. We just don't do it over there. Put it on the other side of town where we can't see it or smell it. And then please come on in. This is part of the conversation that we have to have, because those people in the neighborhood in Casper are not against a gravel pit. They like the idea of a gravel pit. We need the gravel. We need the jobs. That's great. Put it in. But sometimes the question is, but where are you doing this, and how does it affect us? And that's, as we get busier with some of these projects over the next few years, and we will be getting busier, that's what we need to start thinking about. When you look out your back window and see one of these projects right there, okay, now's where you need to start thinking about how you handle that. When is it okay? When are they doing a good job that doesn't bother you? And when is it really destroying your life? Notice I'm not drawing any conclusions yet. I'm just saying be ready for it, because more of this is coming at us, and soon. Coming up on 7:30, local news coming away after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it. 7:45, it's going to be a warm weekend. Dawn Day's coming at us at 7:45 to explain the whole thing to you. And, of course, we'll do plenty of open phones. It is Friday. I always do open phones every day at some point. But on Friday, it's the entire program. So at any point, you can call, interrupt me, change the subject. That's fine by me. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Got something to say? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat with Glenn on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app from K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so I was just briefly talking about new projects that will be coming to Wyoming of all sorts of different kinds of projects. DJ, as usual, you have a good point. DJ's up in Gillette. She says, hey, Glenn, sounds like a great debate that I was moderating last night. The big question is, how do these projects get approved without notifying constituents? Great question. Windfall, solar, poison, yeah, okay. So in other words, wind and solar projects, to name a couple of there. And then the second question is, who's representing us in this as they put up wind and solar, which I think is a huge part of the question, because this is an administration, the Biden administration, that doesn't, and this happens with Wyoming politicians too, and bureaucrats. They don't care what you think. We're going to put a wind project in. We're going to put a solar project in. And by the way, you're going to be driving an electric car. And we're going to start paying with your money, taxpayer money, to put in charging stations. And if we complain about it, we're the bad guys. You're using my taxpayer money for what? That's where we become the bad guys. Now, get a load of this. F.E. Warren Air Force Base. Hey, Cheyenne, you're up. F.E. Warren missiles are being upgraded, as you know. They are already 81% over budget. Yeah. This is going to bring in a lot of jobs and a lot of money to Cheyenne, Wyoming. But here's the story, Cowboy State Daily. When word came down from the new Sentinel missile being developed to replace the Minuteman III missile at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, they are 81% over budget. That is really typical of government, isn't it? A Cheyenne resident is a former base commander of F.E. Warren Air Force Base, among those closely following the new developments with the nation's aging intercontinental ballistic missile system. He said, when I heard that, hey, they believe they are now going to have to replumb all of the underground cabling I was like, oh my God, what's that going to cost? That's on top of the Sentinels program also getting a new launch facility at the base, which the Minuteman III system did not have. He said, I think the closest missile is probably somewhere around Pine Bluffs, he said. So then you say, okay, they're going to have a launch capability from a base proper, which has never been done before. Then you have to plumb a line. And no, there will be redundant lines. There's going to be multiple redundant lines coming out of that control center. In addition to going back and replumbing each existing line that's already in place, you're going to have multiple lines. In other words, he continues to talk about, and if we're going to do this, then we have to do that. How do you wind up 81% over budget? Story says, in fact, the Department of Defense officials on Monday highlighted the ground base segment of the Sentinel program as the main factor that busted the budget. Quote, the knowledge of the ground-based segment of this program was insufficient in hindsight to have a high-quality estimate, according to the Undersecretary for Defense Acquisitions. The knowledge we have today is much better than we had 4 years ago. So once again, now I'm using the missile project here, but once again, here are estimates being made to us. We promise you that when we get this project done, and we go back to wind and solar, it's clean, green, sustainable, affordable, reliable, and none of that's true. It's not good for the environment in many different ways. It ends up, how come every time they get more wind and solar put up, your electricity rates keep going up, not down? But it's cheaper energy. It is not cheaper energy. Your bills keep going up. How is that cheaper energy? And it's not reliable, and it's not sustainable, and it's not good for the environment. All these promises are being made. And then the problem and when we have to take these things down, what kind of a mess do they leave behind it? As many people have pointed out, wind and solar, like natural gas, oil, and coal, they have to have some money set aside. So if the company goes bankrupt, there's still money set aside to reclaim the site. They don't have some orphan well, for example, sitting there. But then what do you do with the big footprint left behind? Because they can go ahead and remove the solar panel and the wind turbine, but then there's all of that reinforced concrete that goes way deep into the ground that's just still sitting there. There's a lot left over. So there's, DJ, in order to answer your question, there's really no one representing us. We're the problem in this. And it never meets any of its promises, any of these projects that they have. And they're oftentimes way over budget. And like with wind and solar, remember, as it gets really warm this weekend, it's not the wind power that's going to keep you cool in your house, because the wind is barely going to be blowing in most places. So once again, that reliable energy that you get from wind power, really reliable? 7:42, we'll get Don Day up next with this weekend's weather forecast.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. And Don, if you could, during the course of your explaining this weekend's forecast, give us some kind of a misery index on a scale of 1 to 10.
Misery index.
Yes. Yeah.
Scale 1 to 10. So the higher the number, the more misery?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I'd give it an 8.9.
Oh, wow. Okay. I actually didn't expect you to quite go that about 8.9. Okay. And
it all depends on people. I mean, I've got friends that, used to live in Georgia that don't think we get hot enough.
Oh. Hell's wrong with them.
So it really depends. It depends on your threshold.
Yeah, okay. Now, and I keep hearing people say, but it's a dry heat. And it kind of is this time, isn't it?
Well, it is. And that's one thing out here in the western United States. When we do get these heat waves, it's nothing like the high humidity heat that is down in like the Gulf Coast region of the United States. And that does tend to make the nights cool off very, very quickly. But by our standards, this is about as hot as it gets around here. Okay. Upper 90s and lower 100s will be happening through Sunday. We've got heat advisories in effect. And as we've discussed, there's just not a lot of wind to cool you off.
Okay, now I'm going to go find the good news in this. First off, your mornings are just glorious. I mean, just wonderful. I love stepping outside on mornings like this because it's just the perfect temperature. In fact, I open up all the windows in my house. It's that mid-afternoon shot. And then later in the afternoon, as you've been saying, there's all of these little popcorn showers. Yeah, they give a little bit of rain. But even just the cloud cover helps to cool it off for the evening. And then in the evenings, I sleep with my windows open again.
Well, there you go. The early to mid-afternoons is certainly to be avoided with the heat. And that is the hottest time of the day. That's when you really are going to feel it.
So in Spain, in the middle of the afternoon, they take a siesta. I would recommend this.
Well, in parts of the world where the heat's like that, that's exactly what they do, and there's good reason for it, right?
Now, we get into next week, though, and there is a bit of relief, but I think that just brings us into what we more typically think of as summertime.
Yeah, very much a very typical summertime pattern next week. It'll still be plenty warm, but we aren't going to see the extreme heat. You'll especially notice it by Monday. Temperatures cool off a little, more of a noticeable drop Tuesday and Wednesday. With that drop in temperature will be some subtropical moisture coming back, so thunderstorms become more common again. And that's really how it's going to ride through the last half of July. Very much what you'd expect this time of year. Plenty warm, occasionally a thunderstorm.
Oh, and just between you or me and the hot air balloonist, which is you, they had a big launch in Casper, Wyoming this morning. And,
lovely.
Oh, all over the place. I mean, it was just the perfect still morning for it. Nice cool temperatures, no wind. And if you go take a look at, I can even send you if you like some pictures. There were just balloons all over town. It was just wonderful. And I'm hoping they do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, and with this high pressure ridge overhead, with these light winds, that makes it perfect.
All right. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Yeah, dawn day with day weather. So off we go to the icebox to talk to Frank Gambino.
You know, Glenn, probably 4 years in a row, or at least 3 years in a row, they go, Frank, we're going to get you up in one of those balloons.
Yes.
So I get out there. It's about 6 in the morning.
Yep.
You know, and they're like, well, it's too windy.
Yeah.
Then the next year, it's not so windy on the ground, but it's it's too windy in the air.
Yes.
And these guys have got these computers and stuff like that. Nothing. Didn't go up. And then the third year, no, it's too windy.
Mm-hmm.
Here's today.
Yep.
They're all over the place.
They're all over the place. See, my experience
and I'm still here on the ground, and I probably wouldn't even go up on it any
I would. No, see, my experience has been the exact same thing. For many, many, many years, I keep getting invited. Come on down, we'll get you up in a balloon. And when I get there, there's always some reason that I can't go.
Yeah.
So now what I do like, though, is where I live, which is, as you know, up on a high point looking over the golf course with the college on the other side. And the balloons will rise up and drift right over my house.
Oh, cool.
Yes, I have pictures and video, and I'll wave at these guys, and I can hear them, flaming to keep the hot air going. And that is really just a lot of fun, especially when they end up landing really nearby. And then, of course, I always have to ask them, so why wasn't I able to go again this time? But it is beautiful to watch, to look up, and I think they're doing it tomorrow, too.
As long as they take off in Casper and don't land in Glenrock.
No, they try not to do stuff like that. There's not a whole lot, for steering those things. And I did find out the first time I went to one of these things where the term trial balloon comes from.
Oh.
I've heard that all my life. Where I put up a trial balloon. These balloonists will go ahead and take a little helium balloon, like you for a party, and they will let it go. And they'll all stand there and watch it go up. Because as the balloon rises, Frank, the wind will change a lot as it goes up. And once you get above the tree level, it's a whole different story as to what it was on the ground. And as it goes up, it just keeps changing direction and even how fast or slow or whatever it might rise and fall. So that's their trial balloon before they set up the big balloons.
Makes sense. Yeah, totally.
Never knew that.
All righty. The Central Wyoming Rodeo moves along tonight at the fairgrounds in Casper. In yesterday's session of the bareback, Jacek Frost from California with an 86 and Ethan Mazuranko of KC with an 83. Some really good efforts there. Plus, Donnie Profit who rodeoed at the University of Wyoming is a four-time state champion wrestler from Kemmerer with an 81.5 in the bareback. In the saddle bronc, Damian Brennan of Australia, who's the number one in the world standings, had an 81 yesterday, and Tanner Button Bodner, who has been fantastic over the last 3 or 4 years, he had a 78. He went to high school at both Pinedale and Big Piney. In the bull riding, Scotty Knapp from Albuquerque with an 82.5. The rodeo continues tonight at 7:30 at the fairgrounds and will conclude tomorrow night at 7:30. College football, the University of Wyoming has hired their former Hall of Fame receiver Jovan Bonai as an offensive analyst. He's in their Hall of Fame as he had the 250 career grabs with the Cowboys, one of the best receivers they've ever had. And he was the receivers coach. His last coaching job was at Marshall. He was also at Utah State for 10 years, Texas Tech, Oregon, and Kentucky. In collegiate baseball, the Casper Spuds finally lost a game. They were beaten by Hastings, Nebraska on the road last night, 6-3. That broke the 21-game win streak for the Spuds. They're 31-5. They will host Hastings tonight at 6:30 over at Lansing Field in Casper. In American Legion baseball, the Casper Oilers in the Bozeman, Montana tournament, they lost to Bozeman last night, 8-5. They'll play Nampa, Idaho this afternoon at 3:30. Cheyenne Post 6 in the Fort Collins tournament. They beat Loveland, Colorado 6-0. They'll take on Fort Collins at 9 this morning in Greeley, Colorado at 11:30. The Laramie AA Rangers lost to the Colorado Rogue in that tournament in Fort Collins 8-2. They'll take on Arvada, Colorado at 2 p.m. and Loveland at 4:30. The Cheyenne Hawks split a doubleheader with Sheridan. Sheridan won the first game 14-2, and then the Hawks won the nightcap 3-0. Laramie A Rangers split a doubleheader with Wheatland. Laramie A won the first game 8-3, and then Wheatland won the nightcap 9-5. Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will be in New York to meet the Mets tonight. Rockies lost to the Cincinnati Reds yesterday 8-1. They got just 3 hits. They've lost 4 of 5, and they are 33-61 on the year. That's it in sports.
So did I hear you say you probably would not go up in a hot air balloon?
Well, after waiting around, it looks like a good idea.
Yeah.
I want to see how they actually say, okay, we're going to land there.
Yes, right.
As opposed to saying, whoa, why are we landing over here?
Yeah. I think when you go up in one of those things, it's a little bit of both. You should talk to Don Day about it because he's a hot air balloonist.
Yeah. You know what? I can just fake it and get on the phone and then go like this.
Yes. Okay. Something I would. I got friends of mine who can Photoshop you into a hot air balloon. We can call it good.
Yeah. Just go.
Yes. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on that's Frank having a good time. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that national local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. We have open phones all the way, 888-97 Woods. Let's wake up Wyoming.
By Tuesday.
.06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Friday, and I'm so glad you made it.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
You never know when you get attacked by one of those things, no matter where you live. However, if you go to the Wyoming Fair and Rodeo, you will not be attacked, but you will be able to enjoy baby seals. Isn't that right, Tom?
Oh, you bet. The seals have been a big hit, and people have been. The crowds have been packed. We've got bleachers down there, and every show has been totally packed.
Oh, it just sounds like a perfect afternoon. Since we got the weekend coming up here, I was just talking with our meteorologist, Don Day. The daytime starts out nice and cool, and you open at what time?
We open at noon today.
Okay, and when do you open on Saturday?
At noon on Saturday
noon
also.
On Saturday, okay. And then as the afternoon goes on, don't forget there's plenty of ice cream there. But you've also, this will keep you cool while you're there, but you also have other things to see that are indoors during the middle of the day when it gets really warm, like that butterfly encounter sounds fantastic.
Oh, we've had people, it's been packed in that butterfly deal. The kids are taking home the little caterpillars, for the cocoons and stuff, and they're just thrilled to death. You can't wipe the smiles off the kids' faces when they come out of there, and they feed the butterflies a little bit of nectar, and the pictures are worth $1 million.
Okay, so there's plenty to do inside, but now also for those who like the entertainment besides the rodeo, the comedy hypnotist. So don't worry, he's not going to make you do anything weird. But if you're interested...
Glenn, would you be hypnotized? Do you trust him, really?
No, I don't.
Me either. No, I don't either.
No.
I think it's fun to watch, and I watch these people do stupid things up there, and I look at it and go, there's no way they're getting me up there to do that. But some of those people think it's great, and it is fun to watch. I just don't want to participate.
Okay. And usually down in the same area where the hypnotist performs, you have, do you have local bands this year?
We don't have any local bands, but we've got the regional fiddle championship that starts tomorrow and runs all day long.
Oh, that's perfect. Now, of course, and I have to keep mentioning the food vendors, the ice cream. But then there's, I think, some of the best rides of any fair in Wyoming. And I think even some of the biggest rides, too, that you have. And that's right in the center of the fairgrounds.
It is. We've got the biggest midway in the state, and this carnival has been fantastic, and it's just been packed every night, too. The one thing I want to stress to everybody with the heat is be sure and stay hydrated. We don't want anybody to get sick. We don't want anything to happen to them, but we want them to have fun and enjoy themselves. So be sure and stay hydrated. There's plenty of water fountains, plenty of water bottle fillers. Just stay hydrated. It's that heat is just hard on you.
Yep. Now, when the rodeo starts, that's when things start to cool off. Doesn't that start about 7 o'clock?
Yeah, about 7:30 we open our doors for it, about 6.
All right.
And they can get in. They can have an adult beverage too to enjoy that along with the rodeo. So now that helps you cool off too.
My understanding is that the finals are tonight, right? And then
no, the finals are tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. So I'm thinking of the qualifying. That's tonight.
Yeah, the last qualifier is tonight. If they want to come out and watch stuff inside in the cool buildings, we've got the kids have a pocket pet parade in the indoor arena, and there's some of those pets that there's just some of those pets I don't think I want to own, but those kids seem to have a good time with them. And I never wanted a pet snake, but I guess some people do.
Right. All right. So for people to get tickets to go to this thing, they can still go online if they want to get tickets before they show up, right?
Yes, they can, and all they have to do is go to www.centralwyomingfair.com.
Okay, centralwyomingfair.com. Go ahead and get your tickets there, or you can still get them at the gate. And I think it's also important to mention to people that if they're worried about you're driving into Casper and you're thinking, where am I going to park because it's going to be packed, you've got that covered too. Where do they go?
We've got parking right here in the fairgrounds. We've also got a parking lot up by the Wyoming Building Supply and another one up on Wyoming Boulevard that we run shuttles back and forth to, carrying people to the fairgrounds and back to their parked cars starting at 6 o'clock at night.
Okay. So, and then, of course, there's the rodeo you don't want to miss in the evening, too, and that they open up the doors for that 7:30. So go to centralwyomingfair.com. Tom Jones, thanks for coming on this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Glenn.
Why are you crying?
Because I don't want to be an adult.
You don't want to be an adult? I cry about that a lot, too. Why don't you want to be an adult?
Because it's not fun. It's going to be not fun. It's like a prison being an adult.
It is like a prison being an adult.
Come on, B. I don't want to be an adult. I don't even want to be a teenager. I just want to be a kid.
Me too. Can I be a kid?
No.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
8:16 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. We've got a nice long segment of open phones here, and it is open phones. You can talk about what I'm talking about or change the subject. Fine by me. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number, 888-97-WOODS. Or do what a lot of other people do if you have the Wake Up Wyoming app, which is free at your app store to download. Just Wake Up Wyoming. And you can look at the toolbar in the center when you open the app. Look for the chat option. You can send me text messages through that while I'm on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got just the best news ever from Ocasio-Cortez. which always leads me to my problem. Which song do I prefer for her when I open up? So I usually play them both. There's this one. Or, of course, She's Got Marty Feldman Eyes, which is not as good of a song, but it's a much better image, especially if you know who the former actor, now deceased Marty Feldman was. Just think of the movie Young Frankenstein. That was him.
Her hair is hollow and black. Her lips Dior ice. Her hands take no flack. She's got Marty Feldman eyes.
So I hate to think about what those eyes are going to look like when she becomes an old lady. But okay, here's the headline for you. Ocasio-Cortez dropped by socialists. Socialists have dropped her for not being anti-Israel enough. Oh my gosh, she's lost the socialists here. In a statement by the DSA, as a bunch of Democrats, Democrat Socialists of America, that's what DSA is, Democrat Socialists of America, listed its reasons for rescinding its endorsement of googly eyes. These included the fact that AOC voted in favor of a resolution declaring that objecting to Israel's right to exist amounts to anti-Semitism. That she signed a letter backing the Iron Dome, the anti-missile terror missile system that stops a lot of those missiles from getting into Israel in midair and protecting civilians. And that she recently participated in a panel discussion with two experts on anti-Semitism who oppose boycotting Zionists. So for Democrat Socialists, and you know, it is Democratic Socialists, isn't it? For Democrat Socialists, wow, they just couldn't get rid of Ocasio fast enough on that one. Although I'm sure if some other issue comes up, they'll back her, but right now they're rescinding their endorsement of her for her seat in Congress. I don't think it really matters, but all right. Story says AOC has been known as a Democrat socialist since running for Congress in 2018. The DSA's break with her is less of a sign that she's moved to the center and more of a symptom of the DSA's increasing radical opposition to Israel, says the story. The statement reads in part, "We recognize that AOC has taken many courageous positions on Palestine since co-sponsoring several House resolutions," and it names them, naming Israel's genocide as well as opposing a House Resolution 894. However, members have raised their concerns regarding a number of her votes, including a vote in favor of, and I don't know why they do this, House Resolution 888, I guess I'm supposed to look it up, conflating oppositions to Israel's right to exist with anti-Semitism. AOC also co-signed a press release in April 2024 that supported strengthening the Iron Dome. Why would you be against the Iron Dome defense system? I want to know that. The Iron Dome defense system, all it does is when missiles are fired at Israel, Israel can shoot those missiles up and destroy them in midair. Why would you not want Israel to have those? And yet that's what we have here with these Democrat socialists. Well, they're not allowed to have a defensive system that might save civilian lives, is essentially what they're saying. All right, finally, AOC, they say, recently hosted a public panel with leaders from the Jewish Council for Public Affairs, lobbyists for the IHRA, defamation of anti-Semitism. On this panel, anti-Zionists and anti-Semitism were conflated with boycotting Zionist institution, and that was condemned. The sponsorship is a deep betrayal to all of those who have risked their welfare to fight Israel, apartheid, and genocide, and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. So, okay, basically they're dumping her. They had endorsed her candidacy for re-election. She's out now. AOC has spread anti-Israel propaganda since October 7th terror attack. She even blamed the Arab Accords, a peace agreement between Israel and several Arab states, for the war. Don't know why they hate her, but all right. She accused Israel of genocide in a passionate speech on the floor of Congress. I mean, she's doing much of what they want to do. Okay, so I guess she's, well, as far as they're concerned, she's out right now. Now, I suppose at some point when they need her, they'll go ahead and pull her up again, I guess. But all right. Poor AOC has launched, I wonder if she'll go back and apologize. You think?
She's the crazy ex-girlfriend. What? No, I'm not. She's the crazy ex-girlfriend. That's a sexist term. She's the crazy ex-girlfriend. Can you guys stop singing for just a second? She's so broken inside. The situation's a lot more nuanced than that. C-R-A-Z-Y.
Okay, now another thing that I want to just get out of the way, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but worth looking at. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's already being overanalyzed by news media outlets. So Biden went to a NATO summit. Okay. During the NATO summit, he was supposed to give a press conference. And he did say at the beginning of the press conference who he was supposed to call on. I'm supposed to call on the following people, he says. He's supposed to. It's not his decision as president, right? And he has these cards they gave him that, as always, have the name of the reporter he's supposed to call on, a picture of the reporter so he can recognize them, the question the reporter's going to ask in advance, and the answer is written on the card in advance. This is a Biden press conference. Although he did have a short period of time when he didn't have any notes and he was just going to take questions. Because I guess Biden's people want to prove to everybody that he can do this, right? It almost went well. Kind of, sort of.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway. Mr. President,
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Okay, so then there's this, now this is a montage, so you know. This is not all one thing. This is during the course of the press conference where he was allowed just to speak freely with the press, which was not very long. He had several moments where at the end of a sentence, he just kind of petered off, which remind me of the recent debate that he was in, where Biden sort of trailed off at the end of a sentence. And when Trump was asked to respond, Trump said, I don't know what he said at the end of that sentence, and I don't think he knows either. So these are several sentences put together where essentially he did the same thing at the NATO press conference.
Look, folks, this is, well, anyway, in the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling into 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, it wasn't about just, anyway, read what his objective is. And anyway, but then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
Now, of course, they're making every possible excuse for him.
Hi, my name's Tim, and I've lost 43 pounds.
Hang on a second now. That was the inflation diet. There we go. I wanted the excuses.
It wasn't my fault. I had a flat tire. I didn't have enough money for cab fare. My tux didn't come back from the cleaners. An old friend came in from out of town. Someone stole my car. There was an earthquake. A terrible flood. Locust. It wasn't my fault, I swear to God!
And the media is going to be making excuses like that during the weekend, too. But they have at least, the media is pretending to be surprised that the president is this way, even though you and I both know that they have been covering for him for quite a while. So they shouldn't be acting surprised. I think they have to act surprised in some way because it was finally revealed on national television. Oh, and I do have, let me call this up real quick, and I did this earlier this morning. There is, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but there is a Milwaukee radio station that agreed to interview Biden. And after the interview, the Biden team sent the Milwaukee station a list of things because it was a pre-recorded interview. So could you cut these things out so they're not in the interview? Like, for example,
in addition to that, I have more blacks in my administration than any other president, all of the presidents combined, and major positions, cabinet positions.
They also wrote, this is the Biden team writing to the radio station, at 4:15 in the interview, in reference to Donald Trump's call for the death penalty for the Central Park Five, the removal of, I don't know if they can even call for their hanging or not, but they said convicted of murder. That's what Biden said, basically. It's very hard to even read because he was just sort of mumbling. And so the Biden team gets a hold of the radio station and says, since this is a pre-recorded interview, can you go ahead and cut those things out before you air this interview? Now, just so you know, I have to, on occasion, and I'll be doing it later on this morning, interview different politicians, different figures that, we have in leadership positions around our state and around our country. And on a rare occasion, somebody might send some bullet points. I don't mind if they send what they would like to talk about, but don't send me questions. And when people try to send me questions, Miss Mary has always informed them he doesn't do that. And if it's a pre-recorded interview, the interview is what it is. I'm not going to cut anything out. But that's the Biden team trying once again to protect their guy, calling the radio station, could you please correct the interview so people don't hear these flubs, in other words. Coming up on 8:30, local news coming your way right after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it. Nice long segment of open phones. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Start your day the right way. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. A couple of things about the Biden press conference here. So, I-80 John, did you notice that Biden didn't call on his arch nemesis, Peter Doocy? Good point. He did not. And then this next one, let me go ahead and set this up again because this is Joe Biden. This is a montage. He was in front of a press conference after working with NATO. And during the press conference, there were many sentences where he just trailed off, and I have them put all together into one montage for you.
Look, folks, this is, anyway. In the next debate, I'm not going to be traveling into 15 time zones a week before. Anyway, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, it wasn't about just, read what his objective is. And but then again, they're better than a lot of other people here too. But anyway.
So Mike in Wheatland says, hey, Glenn, there's a song by Blues Travelers called But Anyway. Could make a pretty funny spoof. Yes. I think you're right. I'll have to go look up the song, but yeah. I'll go check that out. All right. 888-97 Woods, phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. So, ladies and gentlemen, more, and you would not believe how much of your tax dollars is going to try to get you into electric cars.
Okay, so it's 3708, paper plastic.
Plastic. That's the magic word. What? Green police. You picked the wrong day to mess with the ecosystem, plastic boy.
Battery! Let's go, take the house, come on! Put the rind down. Sir, that's a compost infraction.
Oh, did you install these bulbs?
Oh. Tragedy strikes tonight where a man has just been arrested for possession of an incandescent light bulb.
What do you guys think about plastic bottles now?
The water setting is at 105. Yeah.
You got a TDI here? Clean diesel. You're good to go, sir.
Good afternoon, officers.
Are those foam cups you're drinking from?
Yeah.
Please step out of the car and put them on the hood.
So Joe Biden is to dole out another $2 billion, which we don't have, by the way, to boost electric vehicle sales in swing states. Story says the Biden administration using $2 billion with a B that came from the Inflation Reduction Act, which, as even Biden admitted, has nothing to do with inflation whatsoever, is more about his green agenda and actually increased inflation. All right. Commonly referred to as the climate change bill, as an attempt to combine manufacturing and climate change policies. The funds will be used to help with the conversion and retooling of projects in 8 states to make electric vehicles and parts for electric vehicles, which is a big problem because, again, electric vehicle sales have been slumping, anemic, but they're still pumping money into it. Quote, this announcement is a hallmark of the Biden administration's industrial strategy, which is a strategy to bring manufacturing and jobs back to America after years of offshoring, which is nonsense. It does none of that. I mean, absolutely none of that. But also, people are not really enthusiastic about these vehicles. However, some of the 11 facilities, the story says, that will receive funding are in swing states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Georgia, Virginia. General Motors and Stellantis and Volvo and Harley-Davidson and suppliers such as American Auto Parts will be receiving funding, and the Biden officials say it will ensure about 15,000 union workers keep their jobs and create approximately 3,000 jobs, which I guarantee you will do none of that. No, I guarantee you we'll do none of that. They said it will help enable over 1 million electrified light-duty vehicles annually, which it won't do that either. You've been told so many things that their plans are going to do, and it hasn't been doing pretty much any of it. But they keep pushing. I don't know, how many times do they have to keep spending all of this money and failing? And I think they don't mind doing it. They'll just keep spending money until it happens because it's not their money. They're just using the printing press. It's future generations' money that they're spending. They're just printing money to do this. And they don't have to stop. If it was coming out of their own pockets, they would have stopped a long time ago. Screw climate change. I can't afford it. The largest single grant is going to GM's Lansing Grand River plant. It will be among several GM plants that can build EVs and components, including Factory Zero in Detroit, Orion Assembly in Michigan, Spring Hill Manufacturing in Tennessee, Fairfax Assembly in Kansas, Toledo Propulsion Systems in Ohio. GM committed to investing $1.25 billion in Lansing plant on future EV productions last fall as part of the automaker's new contract with UAW. However, in the meantime, though, they've been cutting back on it. A lot of this stuff has been furloughed. President Joe Biden also named Michigan and Georgia as 2 states that are building a clean energy economy, which he called a win-win for automakers. But as you know, none of this is working out, and none of this is even clean or green. Now, speaking of that, Amazon says that it runs primarily on clean power. Here again, once again, promises made to you, right? Amazon announced on Wednesday, July 10th, it had achieved its goal of running entirely on what they call renewable electricity. There is no such thing. Several years ahead of its initial projections. However, Amazon employees for climate justice are challenging the assertion, claiming in a report that the company is not telling the whole truth. According to this justice group, only about 22% of Amazon's operation actually run on wind and solar. So here's Amazon. This is not government, this is private sector. Telling you, we've reached our goals, we're 100% renewable energies. No, you're about 22% at best. And it's not a conservative group making these claims. It's a liberal group. It's an environmental group making these claims. The group also claims that Amazon significantly undercounts its carbon pollution in responsible... Well, now, hold on. There is no such thing as carbon pollution. That's a myth, but okay. What Amazon emits in 1 year is equivalent to you or I deciding to take a long-haul plane flight every day for 97,700 years, says this climate group. In fact, Amazon is operating at a scale of a country, and not a small country either. Amazon's emissions at 71.27 million metric tons of CO2 equivalent. My answer to that is, thank you, Amazon. Please keep going. The more CO2 in the air, the better. Thank you. Amazon sells a wide range of products not manufactured by the company on its website. Does not include the life cycle emissions of these good carbon footprint calculations that they have. So, however, in a statement issued by Straight Arrow News, Amazon disputed the findings as I thought they would. But again, it's not a conservative group that's saying this about Amazon. It's fellow environmentalists that saying Amazon is making all sorts of claims. I mean, huge claims. And they're nowhere even close to what they're claiming, which sounds a lot like your government, once again, claiming to doing all of these great things for you, and yet you don't. Mommy M is in Casper. It gives a whole new meaning to the power of the press. Yeah. 8:45, Wake Council.
The best talk show host in the state, within his price range. Tune in to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, weekdays at 6.
8:48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox to talk to Frank Gambino. Okay, Frank, a few more from my favorite meme lady.
Meme lady?
Yes. Have you been enjoying them?
Yes.
Okay.
How many more does she have?
Oh my God, it goes on forever.
Oh,
You'll
okay.
never be able to read them all. I'm sorry and I apologize mean the same thing, except when you're at a funeral.
Right.
Some things just don't. I mean, that's like one of my favorite ones is, it's one thing when you say to someone, have a nice day.
Yeah.
When you say, enjoy the next 24 hours, it just sounds...
It's ominous there, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Let's see. Here's a picture of a big pile of mound of dirt.
Yeah.
Like you would see in Wyoming, like a butte.
Yeah.
If you see a large mound of dirt in the field, don't disturb it. Wait for the Dollar General to hatch.
Oh, there you go. I knew that they grew out of the ground.
Okay. I am not at all surprised. And I guess maybe if you just water it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you get a Dollar General a lot sooner. And we had talked about this before. Dollar Generals are really big deals in certain towns, like when Guernsey got one.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow.
And I remember going by that lot. I'm like, they must threw some water on it, and all of a sudden
there it was. There you go. And it also comes down to... I hate to say this, Guernsey, but it makes the rest of your town look like garbage, but okay.
All right.
Okay. Y'all remember we used to jump out of swings in midair?
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah. Them knees was fresh out of the box back then.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. It's just a flesh wound.
Yeah, right. Oh, man, we used to hit the ground and bounce.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd get back up and, walk it off real quick and get back in there. Now... I mean, is there a little bit of fear sometimes when you get out of bed in the morning and you have to walk across the living room?
All the time.
Yeah, okay. We've reached the stage where I got to go down the stairs while carrying this, and there's a little bit of fear doing that.
On a step that's probably only a half inch.
Yeah. And you always wonder,
of elevation
did
change,
you make that last step or did you forget it?
Pretty much. All right, University of Wyoming football team has hired former receiver Jovan Bonide as an offensive analyst and working with the wide receivers. He was a Hall of Fame inductee for UW, had 250 catches for over 3,600 yards in his career with the Pokes, and he's one of the best receivers they've ever had. He was recently the receivers coach at Marshall University, spent 10 years on the offensive staff at Utah State, and also worked at Texas Tech, Oregon, and Kentucky. In collegiate baseball, the Casper Spuds lost a game. They were defeated by Hastings on the road 6-3 last night. That broke the 21-game win streak of the Spuds to 31-5 on the year in the Independence League. They'll host Hastings tonight at 6:30 at Lansing Field. American Legion baseball from yesterday, the Casper Oilers in the Bozeman tournament, and Bozeman won that game 8-5. The Oilers will play play Nampa, Idaho this afternoon. Cheyenne Post 6 in the Fort Collins tournament. They defeated Loveland 6-0. They're taking on Fort Collins here in a few minutes, and then they'll play Greeley at 11:30. The Laramie AA Rangers lost to the Colorado Rogue in that Fort Collins tournament 8-2, and they'll take on Arvada, Colorado at 2 p.m. and then Loveland at 4:30. Also in Legion baseball, the Cheyenne Hawks split a doubleheader with Sheridan. Sheridan won the first game 14-2, and the Hawks won this nightcap 3-0. The Laramie A Rangers split a doubleheader with Wheatland. Laramie won the first game 8-3, and then Wheatland won the nightcap 9-5. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will be in New York today to meet the Mets. Yesterday, the Rockies lost to Cincinnati 8-1 as Tyler Stevenson homered twice and drove in 5 for the Reds. Rocks had just 3 hits in that game, and they've lost 4 of 5. They're 33-61 on the year. The Central Wyoming Rodeo moves along tonight in Casper at the Central Wyoming Fairgrounds. Last night in the bareback, Jacek Frost from California recorded an 86, Ethan Mazurenko of KC with an 83, and Donnie Profit, the 4-time state champion wrestler from Kemmer who rodeoed at the University of Wyoming with an 81 in the bareback. Damian Brennan of Australia with an 81 in the saddle bronc. He was the number 1 rated guy in that event this year. Tanner Butner from Pinedale and Big Piney with a 78, and he's been solid this year. And in the bull riding, Scotty Knapp from Albuquerque with an 82.5. Rodeo continues tonight at 7:30 and will conclude tomorrow night at 7:30 at the Central Wyoming Fairgrounds in Casper.
And Frank Gambino will be there taking pictures of the whole thing.
I should hope so, yeah.
Okay. And where are you posting these stories?
If I can get to them, and it'll be on Wake Up Wyoming eventually. We'll have some of the button busting. You've seen those?
Yes, I have seen those, and those are brave little kids. I love the one picture you got of the kid hanging on to the side for dear life. You're right, exactly. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. There's going to be a national local update on the weather forecast. And we're still into open phones, and it's a Friday. So I got plenty of things to talk about. But if you want to change the subject, that's fine. 888-97-WOODS, the phone number 888-97-WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming. 9:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Friday, and I'm glad you made it.
Today's show is sponsored by Rabid Penguin Spray, the only spray guaranteed to keep dangerous rabid penguins at bay.
Don't worry, with global warming, all the penguins will be dead soon anyway, so not a problem. Darren Smith is on the phone with me right now. He's running for Senate District 6 here in the state of Wyoming. Darren, it's been a while. How you been?
Hey, Glenn. Yeah, I was on your show a few years ago.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I do remember that. occasion. I thought it was a really good talk that we had there. So for people who don't know, where is Senate District 6?
Well, Senate District 6 is half the size of the state of Israel. It's 4,100 square miles. It takes up 3/4 of Laramie County. So eastern Laramie County, northern Laramie County, and all of Platte County.
Right.
It's like I said, it's almost a country.
Yeah, but I mean, not a whole lot of people out there anyway. So I guess to campaign, you got to drive around quite a bit.
We do. Right now, I'm in Wheatland. You know, there's Glendo and Guernsey in Platte County, and there's plenty of little places along the way. And of course, in Laramie County, you have Burns, and you have Pine Bluffs and Albin, and there's just lots of little stops out there.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you're running for Senate District 6, people, of course, I know this is not your first rodeo and something like this, but of course, before we even get started, people need to see your Wyoming card. So, been in the state how long?
Glenn, I used to think this was a badge of honor. I'm a fourth generation Wyomingite, but I really am. But I don't think that matters.
Okay.
I've been here for 50 years. I'm 50 years old. I think if you've, hey, if you make it here a few years, I got a little respect for you, because it's not always easy to be in Wyoming with the weather and so forth. But I love this state. Wouldn't live anywhere else. This is where we chose to raise our family.
And were raised in what part of Wyoming?
Well, I actually was born in Laramie. I grew up in Rock Springs, Wyoming, fighting for my lunch money. Grew up in the boom town, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, the reason I'm so conservative is because I saw that liberal policies have bad consequences, and Rock Springs was a perfect example of that.
And what have you been doing for a living all of these years?
Well, I built an investment business from 2000 to 2005, and I sold that in 2005, and I went to work for the Christian Broadcasting Network.
Okay.
For 12 years, we drilled. I helped drill water wells all over the world for people without fresh water. We were drilling about 1,000 water wells a year for people that needed it. And I was on every continent but Antarctica with that work. And I left that, I actually left that to run. To run against Liz Cheney in 2016. If you I don't know if you remember.
I do remember that. Yeah.
I thought that the battle was in D.C. I thought if we could contain it, Glenn, then we could contain the cancer, the big government, the indoctrination. Then we could keep it there and keep America healthy. But it showed up on our grill so fast. The battle is no longer there. Right.
Okay, so let's talk political experience and running for Senate District 6. So let's talk political experience. How much do you have, or have you been, for those who don't know, a businessman this entire time?
Right. Yeah, well, so I've political experience. I've been in politics the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. I was the chair of the Laramie County Republican Party. I've fought the liberals tooth and nail down in Cheyenne, and they never liked that. And I would rally folks for important bills like fighting for life, fighting for less government, and so I'm a known figure down there. So I've got plenty of political experience. In 2021, Trump told me through a mutual friend to get my butt in the race. Mm-hmm. So I did, and we were the lead candidate. We were up by 7 points when Trump ended up endorsing Harry Hageman, which he's done a great job, so no sour grapes there, but got lots of political experience. We need a fighter in there. Hey, before I forget, Glenn, this is really important to me. I want to give a shout-out to a good friend of mine, a great American, and he and his boys have been volunteering for my campaign, and they knocked on 40 doors this week, and so he's a big fan of your show as well. So Colonel Chris Johnson and his boys, Keith and Gage, great guys. Just want to give them a quick shout out and tell you thank you. And the reason we're going to win is because of you guys, because we're on the ground, we're doing the work, we're getting in front of the voters, and we've got a great message.
And as I said, you're going to need all those people because, as I said, there's a lot of territory that you have to cover. Let me give you sort of a lightning round here on some issues. Big one here in Wyoming, property tax relief.
Well, absolutely. We have a $28.8 billion surplus, Glenn. We could definitely provide property tax relief. Could look a lot of different ways, but there's a plan out there. And I think that we could actually, if we implemented a 10-year, 15-year plan, we could potentially significantly reduce or even eliminate property taxes over the next 10 or 15 years.
Okay. You wanted to eliminate the Attorney General position as is and make it an elected position.
Yeah, because you think about it, if we would have had an elected Attorney General, we would have sued the state of Washington 10 years ago when they initially blocked our coal from being exported from the Millennium Port. We had countries, we had Indonesia and Australia and India all wanted our coal. It's the best coal in the world, lowest sulfur, least pollutant coal in the world. They would have taken it in a heartbeat, and they blocked that. And that Meade and then Gordon failed to sue in a timely manner. And by the time it went to the Supreme Court, that port had been sold and refitted for, I believe, China to import their widgets, and it was no longer timely or viable for us to export coal there. So that got dismissed, and now we have the federal government has said that the fourth branch of government, and which I'm sure you're well aware of, they've said that they're going to stop the sale of our coal leases. So we should have hit them in the mouth the next day. Not like it's been over 3 months and we've done nothing. So an elected Attorney General is held accountable to the people. What's happening now is the governor just has too much power.
Right. All right. So
whether he's conservative or not. In this case, not. But
you had mentioned also when you were talking about that energy, so let's go ahead and just transition over to that, because we do have uranium coming up and rare earth minerals coming up, of course. And, of course, the Biden administration has been pounding on us for legacy industries like coal, gas, and oil. In the meantime, heavy subsidies come rolling in for wind and solar. So what part do you play if you're elected to Senate and House District 6 in Wyoming?
Here's the biggest thing. Like Ronald Reagan said, the 9 words I fear the most: I'm from the government, I'm here to help. No, we never pick winners and losers. The free market picks winners and losers. That's not our job. So if wind and solar can't stand on their own, we shouldn't be helping them at the government level.
All right. DEI in Wyoming.
Well, actually, so I thought we could wipe that stuff off the board back in D.C. 10 years ago, and now it's here. Yeah, so no, we've got to come against that. It's here. It's University of Wyoming. I know that the WWAMI program, where our medical students go to the University of Washington, is just loaded with that garbage, and they're forced to take hours upon hours of classes of that. So, yeah, we've got a big problem there. We've got to make sure that it's not pushed on our kids.
Yeah, well, and that would mean making sure that our school curriculum is, devoid of that. But what about? And I've really fought myself for this quite a bit. I like the idea. In fact, I think it's important to have diversity in our schools, and that would be a school voucher program.
You know what? The money, the dollars should always follow the kids, and where you see it happening, like places like Kentucky, Ohio. Their scores are coming up where ours are not. Our scores are stagnant here in Wyoming. And there was a bill out there, probably 8 years ago from Sue Wilson that would have given, let's say at the time we were spending $16,000 per student. It would have given parents half that money to privately educate their kids. They could have sent them to a private school. They could have homeschooled them. All kinds of options, right? But that would be a cost savings to the state if we had enough people dial into that. And so something like that, I'm totally for it. We've got to have competition in education, and that's what's lacking in our state.
Okay. Who are you up against this election, or is it just you out there? Because sometimes some of these seats are uncontested, I know.
Yeah, actually, the question should be, Glenn, who am I not up against?
Oh, okay.
There are 6 candidates, including myself, in this race.
Right.
And they're nice people. They're nice. Most of them are nice, kind of chamber of commerce, type folks, or they're folks that have nice messages. But we need a fighter in there. We need somebody who's going to fight for our kids, who's going to fight for our economy. I'm telling you, it really upsets me that it took us 3 years. The first SAFE Act, or what we call Chloe's Law, for your listeners out there, that's the bill that made it illegal to castrate a kid chemically or otherwise, or you're going to jail if you touch a kid before they're 18, and they can make a decision, or if you think they can, but that's the law right now. But it took us 3 years. The first one was passed 3 years ago in Arkansas, and we were not even a leader on this. In fact, we were fighting over this and playing politics over this, and it just when you start touching. When you start not fighting for my kids and not doing the right thing, that's when I'm generally a nice guy. That's when I get a little upset, Glenn.
Okay. So with a lot of work to do, I guess you're going to be, driving all over the place, as you said, and you have a team. Where can people go to meet you? Because I know towns like Wheatland, for example, and many other towns that you would be visiting have events where they can go ahead and talk to you in person. So where are you going to be?
Actually, so the best thing that people can do, you call my cell and we'll arrange that. But so there are forums and things that they can meet me at. But you can go to my website, which is smithforwyoming.com.
Okay.
They can also email me at info@smithforwyoming.com or 307-477-0700. That's 307-477-0700. Give me a call. You might know me or from the past or like my message. Love to connect with you. Love to give you a sign and get you dialed in.
Okay, smith4wyoming.com. Darren, good luck. Thanks for coming on the show this morning.
Hey, thank you, Glenn, and thanks to all the listeners out there. It's folks like you that make the difference. You're engaged, and you're informed, and you vote. So August 20th, I'm asking for your vote on August 20th. When you go to the polls, go vote for Darren Smith. Thank you.
All right. Wake Up Wyoming.
Serious takes on local politics or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the phones where Jess has been patiently waiting by. Morning, Jess. What you got for me? Maybe there isn't anyone there. Okay, maybe they didn't make it through the break. Okay, if you want to try back, 888-97 Woods is the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. I've been trying to get to this story all week. Several people have asked me about it, and I'm thinking this has got to be, one of the best stories of the week, but we had so much else going on. Let's go to Sacramento, California, which, by the way, has the radio station that really launched Rush Limbaugh. He had been in radio before, but then took some time off from radio and went back on the air in Sacramento, and that's where his ratings were so insanely high. Incredibly high. He ended up getting that national gig after sort of being discovered. Oh, Jess has come back. Hello, Jess. What you got for me? Wait, Jess is listening to his radio.
Hi, Glenn. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What you got?
Okay. Sorry, I lost you.
That's right.
Is it true that California, since they're losing money on the gas tax and probably diesel on the vehicles because everybody's going to electric in California, are they talking about taxing the electric vehicles on their miles that they drive?
Yes. That's been something that's been offered up for a good long time to try to figure out a way to estimate or record how many miles an electric vehicle drives, and then basically they get billed for that rather than... I think they should be able to do it when someone's charging. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah. That's ways to figure out to get more money.
Well, but see, then again, these electric vehicles, which are much heavier than your average automobile, are causing a lot of wear and tear on the road. And your gasoline tax pays for the road you're driving on. So when do the electric vehicles pay for the road they're driving on?
Yeah. And then the deal about having to replace the ribbon rails because those heavyweight vehicles just plow right through them. Yep. And what turned me off when they were first starting to do it is that I watched the crush test, and when that electricity gets short-circuited in the vehicle, last I had heard it took 60,000 gallons of water to put them out.
Yep.
And they may restart. And one fire department, they put them in a pit filled with water and let them sit in there until they finally got done discharging.
Yeah. Oh, these things are wonderful for the environment, aren't they?
Oh yeah, and if you can't get out of that vehicle, I think in the first 10 or 15 seconds, you'll never get out of it.
Right. All right, Jess. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Now, the problem with not just electric vehicles, but even the hybrid vehicles. And I don't mind this as a tax. There's very few taxes I like, but this is one that's okay. When I fill up my tank with gas, it's taxed. And that tax is supposed to go to the road that I'm driving on. That's okay. I'm directly paying for the road I'm driving on. Hybrid vehicles, which will not use as much gasoline, but they weigh more. They do more damage. But they don't buy as much gasoline. How do they pay for all of the road they're driving on? Electric vehicles don't pay any gas tax or diesel tax at all. So, and they weigh a lot more than your standard internal combustion engine vehicle. So, okay, how do we get them to pay for the road? There's been several solutions that have been offered up. One of them is a mileage tax, but then again, how do you figure out what their mileage is? So that's being worked on anyway. Several solutions are out there. All right, coming up on 9:30, local news coming your way, and more phone calls if you want. 888-97-WOODS. That's 888-97-WOODS. I'll try to get to that story out of Sacramento, but if you interrupt me with a phone call, that's okay too. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
By Tuesday.
Polish off that tin hat. You'll need it for this one. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Available on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, I delve into this with a little bit of suspicion. Miss Mary writes to me that the person on the phone is Rocky from Rockport who wants to talk about cows. And it just sounds really suspicious. Hi, is this Rocky?
Hey, yeah, Glenn, this is Rocky. Glad to talk to you this morning.
Yeah, glad to talk to you. Are you from Rockport?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Rockport,
so she got two in a row right. Oh, wow. Okay. And are you actually here to talk about cows?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
You know, the other day, you were telling me how aerodynamic cows are.
Yes.
And kind of have to agree with you. I've seen, in a high wind, they'll kind of take off a little bit. If they got big ears, they flap them.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. What somebody did point out to me, for those who don't know, I wrote an article where I noticed that when it really gets windy in Wyoming, all the cows point their nose into the wind. And someone had actually done a study, several people, where they made a computer program to see how aerodynamic a cow is in heavy wind. And it's actually surprisingly dynamic. However, someone did point out that perhaps, though, if the cow has hanging udders, that might cause a lot of drag.
Yeah, that's true. It's a real drag when I've learned that through the years.
Yes, okay.
Hey, so in a past life, I have big snowstorms. We get cows that are stranded way out in those ranches. So I was involved with going to Warren Air Force Base, and we get some C-130s, and we load big 4x4 square bales. We could get 7 of them in the back of those C-130s. And then we'd take off and go searching for cows. And when we'd see some, we'd push them out the back.
Mm-hmm.
And we found that it's good to have a safety harness on when you push them bales out, because we lost a couple guys.
Uh-huh.
And they flew pretty good.
Yeah.
But now this is a big snowstorm with lots of wind. Cows will turn their butts to the wind, and they'll drift. And a lot of times they drift into a corner, and if it's low, they'll get covered up with snow.
Yeah.
But the other thing they do is a lot of them drown because that moisture, their nostrils, when they're breathing, they suck that moisture down into their lungs, and they actually do drown.
I have heard about that. There was some time ago, it was, I'm trying to remember, it was 10 years ago or so, there was a big blizzard up around from Gillette all the way over to the Black Hills. It just devastated the area. Man, they lost a lot of cows, and most of the cows they lost was because of what you just described.
Yeah, pretty bad deal.
Yeah.
But the thing I really want to compliment you on, every time I listen to your program, I learn so much about, like, for example, Indian languages. The other day you told me that red-haired gal,
Jen Psaki.
Her name means...
Yes.
Jen Psaki.
Yes.
Yeah. It sounds like something you put on your rice, but her name in Indian, redhead, fork-tongue redhead, something
That's
like
right.
that.
Line redhead or fork-tongue redhead. Yeah. People don't know Jen Psaki's name is line redhead in Native American tongue. So, yeah.
I was so excited to hear that because I know a couple of similar deals. Actually, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are from the same Indian tribe.
Really?
And so in their secret meetings that they have, they affectionately call each other by their Indian names.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And Joe Biden's Indian name is Lying Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
And, gosh, I hate to say this, but Kamala Harris's Indian name is Spread Eagle.
Okay, there you go. And we hit a rim shot, and thank you, Rocky. Okay.
Darling, would you fetch me a beer out of the fridge?
So, I know everything about the Kardashians, Beyonce, and stuff like that. But I know nothing about who my governor is or whoever runs the state. So this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Thank you, darling. I can give you every major stat for the Rockies for the last 15 years, but I can't tell you who the mayor of Denver is. That's the reason why this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Too lazy to stay informed? Then stay home. Stay out the vote. Your country is counting on you.
This is all part of my Stay Out the Vote campaign that I have every couple of years. And don't forget, for all those liberals who threaten to leave the country if Donald Trump is elected, we're helping.
Are you a liberal who actually said out loud that you would leave the country if a Republican was elected president?
I'm serving my ticket to get out of here if he wins. Only because he probably have me deported anyway.
If any Republican gets nominated, I'm going to move to Canada with my entire family.
I'm sure you meant elected, not nominated. And you're sure Canada really wants you?
Now, I know some of you are saying that you'll move to Canada. Please don't.
Well, let it never be said that conservatives are not compassionate, because now a free service brought to you by Taxing the American People will help you move today with Move-A-Lib. With Move-A-Lib, we will arrive at your door the moment that the election is settled. Our fleet of Move-A-Lib professionals are anxious to get your sorry butts out of here immediately. Need more than one truck? Oh, for God's sakes, we'll take care of that for you. No problem. Can't afford a plane ticket? We'll put you on a boat. Just name a country and we'll provide all of the documentation to send you there as quickly as possible. Once you leave, you're not welcome back. And please don't let the screen door hit you on the way out. Call today. 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. That's 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. Reserve your moving van before November.
Yeah, we have this program all set up for this time around as well, because once again, a bunch of Democrats have said, I'm leaving the country if Trump is elected. Well, hey, we're fine with that. In fact, I have a long list. I mean, remember when phone books were like a foot thick? And none of you from Wyoming or Nebraska or South Dakota ever saw that. But there are places where phone books were really, really thick. I have that many names, like a whole town full of names of people who are willing to help those who want to leave Canada or go anywhere else get there. We got your back on this. Let's wake up.
If it matters in Wyoming, it matters to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Call Glenn at 888-97-WOODS and make your voice heard. AM 1030, K2 Radio.
Time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, Frank, just for your entertainment purposes here, just a few more memes from my favorite memer on Facebook.
Okay. And there's more.
Oh, my God. She goes on forever. Okay. So, clothes too dirty for the closet, but too clean for the laundry equals chair.
Yes, or floor.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And then you got to give them the smell test before you put them on. Got me an emotional support pet.
Oh.
It's a chicken. It's crispy. It also came with a biscuit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll support that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of that. Just be yourself and act normal. So which one? Because I can't do both.
No one can.
No one can. No. Now, I don't mean to brag, but I just put a puzzle together in one day. The box says 2 to 4 years.
I don't get it.
Well, it's supposed to be for ages 2 to 4 years.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not trying to make waves, but in my opinion, Dove's chocolate tastes way better than their soap.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I would bet, though, if you were a kid that cussed, you would know.
Right, yeah. If you had put soap in your mouth, yeah.
Exactly right, yeah. A Facebook stranger doesn't like my opinion. Please respect my privacy during this difficult time. See, that's something I wish more people would learn, because oftentimes, here's my plan, Frank. I do this quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't mind people offering opinions, but if someone's just being an obnoxious jerk, there's 2 things that I touch with my finger that end it. One is delete, and the other is block.
Yes.
And we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And it works.
Okay. Okay, this is really good. I just blocked someone on my Facebook page for correcting my grammar, and it feeled good.
Field?
Yes, right.
F-E-E-L-E-D?
Yeah. Story of my life. I knew better, but I did it anyway.
Yeah,
See,
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I don't know how many coffees it takes to be friendly, but so far it's not 12.
No, I think it's a minimum of 2, really.
Exactly, yeah. Let's see. One more for you here. Facebook jail just called to check on my well-being. They're concerned because they haven't seen me in a while.
Oh.
Actually, I think my favorite one is of the day. I just started jogging today. I didn't want to, but the ice cream truck just kept driving. So, you see, for those who don't know, this is someone who we follow each other on Facebook, and she posts stuff like this like all day long. And if I ever want to just laugh, I go to her page and just read 2 or 3, and I'm better.
There you go. And the laugh is good. American Legion baseball from yesterday. The Casper Oilers were up in Montana in the Bozeman tournament. Bozeman won that game last night 8-5, so the Oilers will take on Nampa, Idaho this afternoon at 3:30. Post 6 out of Cheyenne, they are in this Fort Collins tournament. They beat Loveland yesterday 6-0. They're playing Fort Collins right now, and they're going to take on Greeley, Colorado at 11:30 this morning. The Laramie AA Rangers lost to the Colorado Rogue in that Fort Collins tournament 8-2. They're going to take on Arvada, Colorado at 2 p.m. this afternoon, and then Loveland at 4:30. Also in American Legion baseball, the Laramie A Rangers split a doubleheader with Wheatland. Laramie won the first game 8-3, and Wheatland won the nightcap 9-5. Sheridan and the Cheyenne Hawks split a doubleheader. Sheridan won the first game 14-2, and the Hawks won the nightcap 3-0. In American Legion baseball, the Colorado Rockies lost to the Cincinnati Reds yesterday afternoon in Ohio 8-1. Tyler Stevenson homered twice and drove in 5 runs for the Reds. Rockies managed just 3 hits. They've lost 4 of 5. They're 33-61. They'll be in New York tonight to take on the New York Mets. In collegiate baseball, the Casper Spuds had their 21-game win streak broken last night in Hastings, Nebraska. In Independence League play, as the Spuds lost 6-3. They are 31-5, and they will host Hastings tonight at 6:30 over at Lansing Field. In American Legion baseball, the Central Wyoming Rodeo continuing tonight at the fairgrounds in Casper. And the bareback, Jacek Frost from California with an 86. Ethan Mazurenko from KC with an 83. Really good ride. Donnie Prophet from Kemmerer is 4-time state champion wrestler there, and also rodeoed at the University of Wyoming with an 81.5. Damian Brennan from Australia, the number 1 rated guy in the Saddle Bronc this year, had an 81. And Tanner Butner, who went to high school in Pinedale and Big Piney, was the national finals rodeo qualifier a year ago, had a 78. In the bull riding, Scotty Knapp from Albuquerque with an 82.5. And the rodeo continues at 7:30 tonight at the Central Wyoming Fairgrounds in Casper. And the last night will be tomorrow at 7:30. And in college football, the Wyoming Cowboys have hired their former ace receiver Jovan Bonite as an offensive analyst working with the wide receivers. He's a Hall of Fame inductee for the Cowboys. Last year, he coached with Marshall. He was at Utah State for 10 years, also at Texas Tech, Oregon, and Kentucky. Great addition to the Cowboys staff. Bonite was one of the best receivers they've ever had.
I wish we could ask the animals at a rodeo, not ask the judges to judge, but ask the animals. Okay, that guy just got done riding you or trying to.
Yeah.
How'd he do?
Yeah. And the horse or the bull can look in the dirt.
Yes.
And go, well, then.
Well, he hasn't gotten up yet.
That's where you belong. You know?
Then I think we know our answer. Hey, Frank, have a great weekend.
Yep.
All right, coming up on some local business that we have to talk about. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Going to be warm this weekend, so you deserve to buy yourself plenty of ice cream. Just my advice. So wake up, Wyoming.